up, Spice Rack, and welcome back to Spice's Diary, where every bite feeds the soul and every story heals the heart. I share my story for a few reasons. One, I want to show you guys that I have been through some really hard things, some devastating things, whether it was from the loss of my mom, through my husband's incarceration,
And we're just
and now
getting
through
started.
not being able to have children, all of my infertility struggles. I have been through some devastating things, but I share because I want to show you that even though you can go through hard things and life might not be fair, you can also still be okay. As a matter of fact, you can also still come out better than you even imagined. So that's one of the reasons I share. I also share because, yes, I went through a lot of hard things. And during that time, I didn't feel like I was very supported. Not only was I not supported in my family or my friends a lot of times, but I couldn't find the support. I couldn't find the groups that would fit or the people that were going through the same thing I was going through because nobody was talking about it or sharing it. If you need this space, I want this space to be here because when I needed it, it wasn't. And because it wasn't, all I had to do, all I could do was turn to God. I ended up being the best thing I could possibly do for myself. Because what I didn't know is that while I thought I was going through the worst thing in my life, He was literally preparing me for what could have been the worst thing in my life. But He gave me the tools and the understanding and the strength that healed my heart so that I could go through this next story and not be broken, but triumph. So let me tell you about it. I had a cousin that I grew up with, but he was a lot younger than me. So growing up, we weren't very close, but hey, he was my cousin. It was quite a surprise that around 2018, I had started doing a video series called Love After Lockup, where I was documenting my relationship and how my husband was on his way home and transitioning home, and I was preparing for him to come home. I've shared before that a lot of my family didn't support my relationship with my husband being incarcerated. And so that was something that I didn't share a lot about. So when my cousin reached out, he was very impressed and very surprised about what he didn't know about my life. He started asking me questions, and it really blew my heart up because he was telling me that he was so impressed and thought I was so cool and didn't realize how cool I was and didn't know all the things that was going on with me. And he took an interest, a solid interest.
That meant so much to me.
And from that day on, me and my cousin, that cousin, became inseparable. We became very close. I would categorize him as like a soulmate and a family member. I'd never had somebody that I could be my 100% self with, my full self with, tell my whole story, talk about my whole life, and not feel ashamed, not feel embarrassed, but uplifted and supported. And we shared and we talked and we planned and we just became really, really good friends. He was shortly married after that, and he started building his own family, and I became friends with his wife and absolutely adored his daughter, to the point that we basically quarantined together because our friendship grew the closest over quarantine. So every Friday night, I would go to their house and hang out with them until it was time to go take Pookie his dinner or pick Pookie up from his job. And that just became my routine with them. We even had plans so that when Pookie came home, we could continue that on because at the time, I was planning on having children and we were going to do our lives together, raising kids and just hanging out. So when Pookie came home, that is really what happened. We started to hang out together and spend more time. And I was so grateful that Pookie and my cousin hit it off just as much as me and him did, because that was going to be a real issue because my cousin meant that much to me. I'd said to my husband many times that if I didn't have anybody else in this world, all I needed was my husband and this specific cousin, and I felt like I could make it through. That's how much I loved him. And I felt that that was 100% reciprocated. There was a bond and a closeness that I've never had before, and I honestly pray that I get again because that was something unlike anything other. And really, I'm okay with just reserving that spot for him. Not really sure what happened. I'm not really sure when things changed, but things changed, and they changed quickly. I remember around the time that I was finding out that I was not able to have children, which I'd only entrusted that information with my cousin and his wife. Me and Pookie really decided to delve into the fact that we had some extra freedom and we wanted to explore and do life together. And like I said, we had been doing every Friday with this cousin and his family. We'd go over there and spend every Friday. But now Pookie was more interested in, let's see if we can go out. Let's go explore. I don't want to spend my Fridays every Friday coming home and sitting in the house. I want to get out. Can you blame him? So we started to invite them. 22 years in a cell. Let's get a babysitter and let's go out. And we were always met with no's. So over time, it just became like, okay, well, they're going to do their thing on Fridays and we'll kind of do our thing on Fridays. I didn't think there was a beef with that because we still would talk and we'd still see each other, just not as much because clearly our lives were kind of going a different direction. I think now looking back, I feel like there probably should have been a conversation about that sooner so that everybody was on the same page or making sure that nobody was feeling left out or left behind. But we were really just trying to be outside and explore this new life that we were trying to build for each other. And we wanted and tried to include them. So there was no ill intent anywhere. But I still don't know where the problem came. But the problem came. I didn't know then, but I definitely know now. We tried to address it at one point, and I thought we had resolved or come to a resolution. And me and my cousin had gotten back to being tighter again and talking again. And I felt like that piece of me that was missing was back because there had been clearly some gap and some tension there. But after that, I thought, okay, we're moving forward. Well, that didn't happen because I was hit with this message out of the blue about me disrespecting his wife. Really threw me for a loop because for the last thing I ever would do that intentionally, especially to the two of them, because I cared so much about them. But when I asked how, I was never given a reason. It was always, well, that's how she felt, and I don't really know the details, but that's how she felt. Now do you see the problem? Well, she never brought it to me. He brought it to me and couldn't give me how I disrespected her, but was accusing me of that. He said I was very aggressive. He said that I made her feel bad and I was taking jabs at her. And I was asking how because I wanted to fix it, but was met with nothing. So we left that phone conversation and it was a little awkward, but I thought, okay, we'll let some time simmer. Energies will simmer, people will calm down, and we'll move forward. People meaning his wife, because she was the one that had the problem. But 6 months passed. And I was like, wait a minute, are we still beefing? Because me and you don't do this. We are not this way. So I sent him a picture. Hey, can we connect? Crickets. So then my husband said, you know what, this is wild. The two of you were way too close for it to just end over something that you never were told how she was disrespected, and she never told you she was feeling disrespected. So if there is going to be a fix, let's fix it. So my husband called him and say, hey, you brought this issue. What is the issue? How do we fix the issue? But do you see how everybody is talking except for the person who actually has the problem? Mm-hmm. And once again, we were met with, this is how we feel. We don't have an example, but this is how we feel. There were words like betrayed thrown around and disrespect, which were huge words for me that were just like, I don't ever want you to feel like that for me. So please let me fix it. What can I do? How did I disrespect her? Nothing. Well, big cousin came in. He said, let me get to the bottom of this because y'all ain't messing up my holidays. I hadn't said anything, but my other cousin, he took it upon himself to share that we were beefing. Well, cousin asked, what was the beef about? Why are y'all beefing? Because he knew we were the closest. After being very defensive and still not providing an answer, he shared that I started acting weird to them after they had their second baby. Big cousin asked, why was she acting weird? Now, this is the part, guys, that really was where I think God completely wanted me to see how much he healed me. Because if this next statement had have happened a year prior to this, I don't know that I would actually be here to be able to tell you that story. Because I would have been so unreversibly You mean irreversible, girl. That's okay. Not only because of what he said, but because who said it. And because that person meant so much to me. So when my cousin asked, well, how is she acting funny after your second baby? He said, wait for it. Well, you know she can't have kids, right?
Really, nigga?
Offered that as the answer to why I was acting weird and also why I had disrespected his wife. I'm not really sure why he did that, What I can tell you is that at the time, he was the only person that I shared that information with.
Well, it was him and his wife.
He was the only person that knew I couldn't have children. People had asked me if we were going to have children, and I would say, no, I don't think I think that shit might have sailed for us, or no, I don't think we're going to pursue that right now. But I never told anybody that I was not able to have children. And at the moment, I felt like that was specifically done to cause me harm.
Which honestly shocked the hell out of me, because I would have never believed that.
A comment made to try to jab at my character and to try to make me feel ashamed or embarrass me.
Not today, Satan. Not today.
Because he was not able to provide an answer as to why his wife felt so disrespected.
And child, we still don't know.
We still don't know or understand how she was disrespected. But what we do know is that he took the opportunity to disrespect me.
Shame on you.
I'm grateful that God let me see exactly who he was. Because if I hadn't seen that, I'd have always been chasing him. Because he meant so much to me, I would have never stopped trying to get him back in my life because I loved him so much. My love for him was unconditional. His love for me was conditioned upon how his wife felt about me. And since she wasn't woman enough to bring it to me, I cannot spend one moment caring about how she felt. Because the grown-ups talk about it.
That's weak as hell if you ask me.
Furthermore, that doesn't even sound like a comment he would actually make. But it does sound like a comment his wife would make. So I guess congratulations, because he has involved himself in some female business. I guess he thinks he is looking out for his wife, but it really just kind of makes him look like an ass.
Not you out here speaking on my uterus, though.
Because we still don't know why his wife was disrespected. But what it did show was his true colors and how he really felt about me. And that says a whole lot more about him than it says about me. So that's another reason why I share my story. It's my story. So I'm sharing it because I want to, not because somebody else wants to make me feel bad or shame me for something that I naturally cannot do. This is my story to tell. So I'm going to tell my story. I'm going to tell all the parts, including the shitty people who made the list for doing shitty things to me. Who knows? They may have just turned this into a new career for me because I'm going to tell my life. I'm going to tell the ups, the downs, the goods, the bads, and the people that made the list for doing them. The biggest thing I'm going to share, though, is how your girl made it through all of that. You guys, this was one of the most horrible things I've ever endured. But guess what? I endured it. Their words, their actions, none of that stopped anything that was going on here. Because I know what I'm supposed to be doing. And I know whose child I am. And I know who protects me and who has my back. And that's what I'm focusing on. So when I share, it's to show you that I overcome. She's here and will always be here. And for them other ones, the one I hate over here, you ain't got to worry about me. You ain't got to worry about me.